Last Corrin is just to support Deputy Burke, and as he alluded to last week, myself and the Minister had a debate about this issue under topical questions. And again, it's just to emphasise the point, Minister, that we acknowledge all the good work that has been done on behalf of providing resources, cooperation hours, extra funding for the Life Centre, and that is greatly appreciated by all the staff. But again, I think it's just important to stress here the urgency of the matter at hand, and I understand it's with the implementation team, as you've referenced again this evening. But it must be reiterated here that there's staff in the Life Centre that are fully qualified, like I was myself in the past. But unfortunately, when they go to just practical things like going for a bank loan or motor loan or mortgage, they find it very difficult because they're non-permanent. And the same is the case. Many of them would have to sign on, for example, in the summer. It's just to acknowledge that once again. And once upon a time, I was that part-time temporary teacher that struggled to get those types of loans, and I can empathise greatly with the staff there.
Minister to conclude.
Thank you, and thank you to both deputies. And I do want to acknowledge your commitment and interest here. And again, I want to say I don't for 1 minute underestimate the value and the importance of the work that takes place in the Cork Life Centre and in the other centres that make up this sector. And I absolutely understand that no one setting will suit the needs of students, so we must provide for the needs of students in a variety of settings. It is the desire of the Cork Life Centre that they would have a sustainable future going forward, and that is the view of all of these centres, and it is for that reason that we are determined to, via this review, to ensure that we have a mechanism going forward that will protect and sustain the entire sector as a whole, as it were, including the Cork Life Centre. And the issues that you have addressed, I'm very conscious of them. They are part of this review, and they will be worked through as speedily as we can for the benefit of all centres within the sector.
Minister, could I ask you in relation to the return of school completion officers back under the remit of your own department, and if you'll make a statement on the matter?
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Since the 1st of January 2021, responsibility for education welfare functions, including the administration of the Homeschool Community Liaison Scheme and the School Completion Programme, transferred from the Minister for Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth onto my remit. The School Completion Programme forms part of the Tuathla Education Support Service. While the arrangements between Tuathla and School Completion are not impacted by the change in ministerial responsibility, Tuathla now reports to my department in respect of School Completion, and School Completion is funded by my department via Tuathla. TESS has 3 strands, namely the Statutory Welfare Service and the 2 school support services, the Homeschool Community Liaison Scheme, the HSCLs, and the School Completion Programme, the SCP. The 3 test strands work together collectively and collaboratively with schools, families and other relevant services to achieve the best educational outcomes for children and young people. School completion was first introduced in 2002 by my department, and the programme is now a central element of DESH, my department's main policy initiative to address educational disadvantage at school level. School completion delivers a range of local interventions in disadvantaged communities which support the retention of young people in education. The programme enables local communities to develop tailored strategies to maximise participation levels of those at risk of early school leaving in the education process. It entails targeting individual young people of school-going age both in and out of school, and arranging supports to address inequalities in education access, participation and outcomes. There are currently 122 school completion projects with local management committees. The 2022 allocation for the programme is 26.9 million, and additional funding will be provided later in 2022 to allow new DESH urban primary and post-primary schools access the completion service. Presently, management of the school completion programme initiatives, including the employment of staff, occurs at local level. Since I took over responsibility for school completion in January of 2021, I have secured additional funding to provide for an extension of school completion supports to 28 additional schools that were included in DESH for the first time in September 2017, and a 5% overall increase in funding for the school completion programme effective from September 21. In addition, I negotiated a further 5% for school completion under Budget 23.
Minister, I'd like to thank you for your comprehensive response, and it was comprehensive, and I got it earlier this evening. And I do welcome the fact that both you and the Taoiseach have taken a keen interest in this area. As recently as last Wednesday under QPL, the Taoiseach himself said that he was still anxious that the full transition, in terms of the logistics of it, would be undertaken and that the full jurisdiction would return to the Department of Education. I also welcome that you have negotiated through the budgetary process, as you've just referenced there, that 5% increase, and that will cater very well for the expanded DESH programme. However, the crux of the matter here, and as you've alluded to in your response, Minister, is, and I quote, management of the school completion programme initiatives, including the employment of staff, occurs at local level. Minister, essentially that is the point at issue here, and I note that you also say that your department will consider all aspects of the programme, including the management of the programme in the future. Can I just ask you to confirm that this consideration extends to staff reverting to employment under the Department of Education, for example?
Please.
Thank you, Deputy. I do want to be clear. I appreciate and acknowledge the value of the school completion programme. I see the work that it does on the ground. And we are looking at a very holistic approach here between school completion, home school community liaison, and all of that to ensure that students and young people at risk of early leaving really would be supported to the maximum to retain their presence in school and to succeed. Again, I will confirm for you that the initial focus of the transfer of the school completion programme has been absolutely on the development of the legislative platform to support the transfer of functions from the Department of Children, as the process in that respect is recently completed, the Department will, and you have referenced it yourself, will consider all aspects of the development of the programme, including the management of the programme and all aspects involved in the management of the programme. And I certainly, Deputy, will keep you updated in relation to it. But I am determined, now that we have completed, as I say, the legislative framework for it, we will look at all other aspects.
Margaret, Aaron, look, I appreciate your sincerity on it, and it's just to give you an outline of what school completion model actually means on the ground in Cork. We have 11 projects, 6 are non-ETB, 5 are ETB based, and I suppose the important thing here to reference, and the reason I highlight that distinction, is the 5 ETB based school completion programmes. Predominantly those teachers that are undertaking that scheme keep their paying conditions as employees of the ETB. They have full pension entitlements as they do like normal ETB staff. Unfortunately, the 6 non-ETB school completion programmes, people on those programmes don't have the same luxury of pension entitlements and the same paying conditions, and that's a glaring disparity. And as I said, I hope that that's addressed as you review the scheme further. I think it's a glaring and obvious issue that needs to be addressed, and obviously that feeds into the big problem that we have in school completion, which is the retention of staff in critical areas.
Minister to conclude.
Thanks very much. Deputy, I do very much so appreciate the points that you make. I'm very conscious of the difference and disparity that exists. I'm also equally conscious of the value and the importance of the work that has been done in terms of school completion projects, the length and breadth of the country. And it is my intention, as I said, the jurisdiction in terms of school completion coming within my own remit is relatively recent. I wanted to be fair and honest and say that there had to be considerable work in that respect from a legislative point of view. But I am aware of the difference of approach and the difference of impact in terms of staffing around the country. So the next body of work, as I said, will very much so focus on looking at all other aspects in terms of the management of school completion, now that we have, I suppose, jumped the first significant hurdle, and this body of work will commence.